I'm Fletcher Rhoden, and this is Quotes and Quips. Today, words of wisdom from Winston Churchill. Quotes and Quips is brought to you by my website, FletcherRhoden.com. That's where you find links to my author page at Amazon.com, where you can buy my books in paperback, or for Kindle, or in audiobook format. There's also a link to my Spotify artist page, where you can download my music in its various subgenres. I've got new music for 2024. Now you can download my music from countless websites all over the internet. At my website, you can get free music that you can't get anywhere else. So today, Quotes and Quips. Winston Churchill tells us this: success consists of going from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. Success consists of going from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. Now, like a lot of these quotes, it's important to look at the context. Here was a man who was beset with political challenges, over which he nevertheless did prevail. He was the man who said very famously, "We shall never surrender." And he was a fighter, and this is the quote of a fighter. But it's a two-part quote, like a lot of them. The first part doesn't make any sense without the second part. You can't just go around saying, well, the key to success consists of going from failure to failure. That's not going to cut it. Without losing enthusiasm, it's the enthusiasm which propels you from failure to failure on your course towards success. Now this brings us to some of the psychological issues which I often examine on this show, and which I look at in my book, Tracking the Lone Wolf, which you can get at Amazon in any of the three formats, narrated by the author in the audiobook format. So this brings us to the notion of a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. These things interrelate to the notions of, fatalism or optimism. It's a growth mindset will hold that failure brings wisdom and correction and can lead to success. So it's based on a growth mindset. And failure is part of that growth. The fixed mindset will tell you that things are fixed in life, and that a failure is a failure, that a loser is a loser. And if you fail enough times, it's evidence that you are a failure at that. And now a lot of people would say, well, that's very grim and dark, and who could ever have such a grim and dark outlook? But look, a lot of people will say, be realistic. I think it was Albert Einstein who said that the definition of insanity was doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. So at a certain point, after a certain amount of failures, does not a person have to be considered insane if they keep doing it? But the answer is no, because your failures, according to Einstein, should lead you to do things differently. The quote is, doing things over and over again and getting the same result. And expecting a different result by doing the same thing over and over again. That's insanity. But the idea is, after a few failures, you change up what you're doing. So you're not doing the same thing. You're doing something different. Something which may succeed. Something which came to you by the process of your failures. That's the growth mindset. But the fixed mindset will tell you, no, man, a failure is a failure, a loser is a loser. I just can't do it, I never could, I'm not cut out for it, dup, dup, dup. And look, sometimes this is true. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but there are times when, the little chubby white guy is gonna say, I'm probably not gonna get on the Harlem Globetrotters. I had hoped to do that, and I tried so hard for so many years, to try to get the skills together to be on that team, and I thought it would be funny if I was little and short, fat and white, and they were all tall and black and thin and everything. But I just don't think I'm going to be able to sell it. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that either. You know, look, there are lots of ideas in the world, but they're not all good ideas. And not all good ideas are good things. And not all good ideas go well together. Not having anything to do with the Harlem Globetrotters, but you know, it's okay to say I'm going to turn my attention to something else. So all this stuff about fail and fail and fail and fail until you succeed, there is a counter argument to it. And that's, well, if it's failed for this long, maybe I'm just meant to do something else. It's possible. But it is a rare instance for someone to succeed flat out of the gate. Very rare. There are progenies. There are lucky instances. There are times when people seem like an overnight success, but what you're not seeing is all the years of toil before that. And it looks to you like an overnight success, but really it was years in Hamburg or whatever, you know. So it is true that all successes generally require a certain amount of failure. Even those people who are the most well-advantaged and most poised for possible success, like let's say Taylor Swift, who had every advantage, still had to get through her first few songwriting experiences that were probably not as good. She still had to write her first few crappy songs like we all do. You know? Billy Joel had to go to an asylum for a weekend or something. We all go through it. Everybody pays their dues. Some people get further with the dues they pay, but that's okay. It's not the point. Success consists of going from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. And that is true. But at what cost? And is it always true? Does every litany of failures lead to success? One cannot reverse engineer the quote. It is true, though, that success consists of failure plus enthusiasm. But that is not to say that failure plus enthusiasm equals success. You can't reverse engineer that. So that's something to keep in mind. Even if you're a big fan of Winston Churchill, like I am. I'm a big fan of other people, too, who I quote here on Quotes and Quips, which I do every Monday at noon. For the whole year of 2024, you can check it out. There'll also be reruns I'm leaving up, so there'll be plenty for you to look at. There's another show, too, Tracking the Lone Wolf. That's on its own YouTube channel. It's from 2023, but it'll probably be new to you. So check it out. Check out my music and my books, my website. Come back to the show next week. And until then, bye, Mary.